Welcome to the TMCT podcast. Here's where we talk about marriage, life, and business. Steven, welcome to the podcast, bro.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. So real quick, give us a quick background about what you do. I know you're in real estate. Tell us a little bit about your business and what you guys do right now.
Absolutely, yeah. My wife and I own a real estate business where we have acquired roughly a $10 million portfolio within the past year. We've been doing real estate for almost 2 years now. And then recently started a property management business where we are now on track to be managing about 150 properties within the first year.
Wow, bro. Were you guys always entrepreneurial, like 10 million in a year?
You know, we've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, but we weren't always entrepreneurial. So just 2 years ago, we were both in medical sales. Now my wife, Angel, is still in medical sales, but I took the leap and decided to leave it and just go after full-blown entrepreneurship and start our own businesses.
Wow. So what was that conversion like? So you've been a 9-to-5er. What was that conversion like to say, man, screw it, I'm burning the boats, I'm going all in, to start being an entrepreneur?
You know, I don't think it was as crazy for me as it is for most because I always had that entrepreneurial spirit. I was always gearing myself towards entrepreneurship, but without being able to fully take that leap into it. So being in sales, it's kind of like running your own small business, right? Especially in field sales. So it was my responsibility to build those books of business. It was my responsibility to put oxygen into that business, essentially, is the way that I look at it, by bringing sales to the table. I always stepped out of bounds in those jobs too, and it was never taken too well because I saw additional problems within those businesses. So I was creating sales trainings for my companies. I was trying to help other people get ahead within the companies.
Wow.
And management and leadership didn't really like those things because, hey, just stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Hit your quotas and move on.
Yeah.
Don't dig too deep.
That's pretty incredible, bro, because I knew nothing about sales when I became an entrepreneur. I didn't even know it was a thing where you had like these sales patterns and formulas and all this type of stuff, right? And so for me, when I became an entrepreneur, learning sales was a thing. And I didn't know it was a thing. I used to actually laugh at people who was in sales. Look at me and my IT job, right? I'm sitting on Wall Street kind of thing. And I thought I was a big shot, not realizing that people in sales make a crap ton more money than others. So I think you definitely had the advantage.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now I know nothing about the IT side like you're talking about too, and it's really funny in corporate America how those two worlds truly don't interact unless the salesperson's having a problem. Yeah. And it's usually what, hey, did you turn it off and turn it back on? Have we tried that yet? Yeah. Oh, okay, we'll try that first, and that usually fixes most of the problems that we dealt with in sales.
1,000%, man. So in moving on, jumping over into being an entrepreneur, you and your wife, y'all do business together. She still has her 9-to-5. Like, what's the relationship there? Like, how is she feeling? Like, what's that relationship with the entrepreneurial side, 9-to-5 side? Do you guys get into fights about it? Like, what does that look like?
We don't get into fights about it, yeah. And I'm very grateful because I have positioned this in a way with my wife where it's become part of our dream. In our early 20s, when she was 20 and I was 21, one of the first things that we talked about when we first met was making money and creating a legacy together. We wanted to live a very big life. We had a lot that we wanted to accomplish. We just didn't know how to get there. So we have taken that time. I'm 29 now, she's 28. We've taken that time to read books together, to truly understand what entrepreneurship looks like. It's a really scary thing just to jump straight into. So when you talk about preparation, we were way over prepared and way over qualified ourselves before we even made that jump into it.
Wow.
To finally go that direction.
So you guys read the books, got on the same page, and how long you guys been married?
We've been married for almost 3 years now, yeah.
Almost 3 years, but you've been together for a long time.
Yes, we've been together for almost a decade.
Wow. And so now y'all are doing this together. Y'all got on the same page. And so there's a lot of things my men talk about, especially in the Mancave Talk, right? When it comes to finances. Finances is a big thing for many people, and kind of like one person does the finances, the woman doesn't touch the finances.
Right.
Like, that's my money, that's her money. Like, how do you guys deal with finances in your family?
You know, right in the beginning, I would say after about a year of dating, we made a very crazy decision to conjoin our finances. We weren't engaged. We had just been dating, and we knew in our hearts, okay, we're each other's ones. It also helped the fact that we had no money. So we were already broke. So why did it matter if it was all going into one pot? It just made it easier to manage. And I tasked my wife with being in charge of our finances. I said, listen, I'm really good at going and getting opportunities. I can go give this vision for us as a family of where we need to go, the directions that we need to be looking for. I truly value and enjoy doing that myself. I'm an incredibly disorganized person, though. And I am a complete wreck when it comes to making sure that I'm consistently on top of certain things and making sure that numbers are adding up correctly, that we're just honing in on that. However, you are really good at that. You get straight A's, I get straight C's, you know? So you are a very organized, very dedicated person. You make sure that every single task gets completed from start to finish. That's not necessarily my skill set. I would much rather you be in charge of how our finances go. And we did it together for a while, but after about a year of doing that, I don't even know the logins to some of our bank accounts now. And I know that sounds irresponsible, but it's because I have that much trust in my wife.
It's really like that with me too.
Really?
Oh yeah. I don't pay bills.
Yeah.
I make sure they're paid. I don't pay them.
Yes.
And like, it's so funny. Like when I talk to my father, may call me about something, or like a friend may come over, and I typically say, "That's a Jasmine question," right? Like my wife is Jasmine. I'm like,
not my department.
It's not my department. And they always kind of look at me crazy. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, we just got our roles.
Yes.
How important has that been in your family to navigate what you guys do?
It is everything in life, even outside of finances. I'm talking down to every single chore. If I wake up and the dishes weren't done, I go, babe, what were we doing last night?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm like, we went to bed at 10 o'clock. It wasn't that late even. I'm like, why weren't the dishes done? And vice versa. I have a bunch of tasks within the house that I have to do, and she holds me accountable to those. And those are our roles. Those are our responsibilities. And we can trust that each other are going to get them done.
That's awesome, because when you have those roles and responsibilities, things get done and there's a level of accountability. Do you ever feel like being held accountable kind of gets you upset sometimes, or like in your emotions? Or
I think anybody that's being held accountable, when you know in your heart of hearts that you aren't following through with your commitment, with what you're supposed to do, it's always a little frustrating. Like, can't you just give me a little bit of slack here? Can't you just help me out? You know, I'm on top of everything. What's going on? Of course there's frustrations there at times, but also I have to self-reflect as the man in the relationship and say, but did I follow through with what I said I was going to do?
Man, that's so good, bro. Because you got to look in the mirror, right? You got to look in the mirror. And when you do, you got to address it. And that's one of the key things about being a good leader, right? Absolutely. And it sounds like you've been leading in a pretty phenomenal way.
I appreciate that.
And that's what it sounds like right now. And so I know you guys just had a kid less than a year ago. So newer entrepreneurs, balancing these different businesses, a kid is thrown into the mix. How did that shuffle or rattle your life?
And first and foremost, thank you so much for the leadership compliment. That really does mean a lot to me. Genuinely appreciate it. When it comes to our baby, our Olivia as her name, coming into our lives, it did not rattle things up too much. And I know that probably sounds crazy because it's a baby coming into all this change that we already are experiencing. Yeah. But Angel and I are the type of people, and we've really created this culture within our family from the beginning, is we talk through everything that we know is coming. So we knew she's pregnant. We have 9 months to prepare and talk through it. What's the day-to-day going to look like? What is this going to look like? We were so overly prepared that everybody around us was saying it's going to be so overwhelming. You're going to have such a hard time. It's such a big shift. It's such a big change. And we were ready. It's going to hit us. It's going to hit us. It's going to hit us. And then we had our baby, and then it didn't hit us. We knew what we wanted, and we talked through it. We communicated very clearly to each other
Yeah.
how we were going to be doing those things, what responsibilities and what roles each other were going to be taking by having another person in our family now. And it hasn't been too crazy. Are there moments? Obviously. With kids, you don't know what to expect.
Right.
She's 8 months also. We're not talking a 2-year-old. We're not talking a second kid coming in. I'm sure there will be additional changes, but we work through those together, and we do our best to never get frustrated with each other in those moments either.
Bro, so there's a common theme of being prepared in roles. Like with everything, you guys have set roles and have made that communication so good where when things come, it's like, okay, we have the SOPs for this, right?
Yes.
Kind of know how to handle it. You talked about other people having opinions about like what was going to happen. Talk about that. How does that affect you guys, and like what happens there?
It's frustrating, you know, because at the end of the day, we say, well, you don't know us.
Yeah.
You don't hang out with us on a daily basis because that was your experience. I would appreciate it if you don't try to put your experiences on us. I'm grateful that people want to give us a heads up. I'm grateful that people care enough to say, hey, this is what my experience was, and it's going to be really tough and really challenging. But we know that we also take all of those moments differently than everybody else does. We worked on our emotional intelligence at a young age. We worked on our level of communication at a young age. We worked on so many of these intangibles that they are so subconscious to us now, to where it takes a lot to rattle us. And we are open to hearing everybody's insight and opinion on things. It doesn't mean that it's going to affect us, or that we're going to take that opinion and run with it. We want to make our own decisions based off of what we feel is the right decision. Yeah. You know?
Have you guys sat down and talked about how you want to raise the kid, and like what kind of, like are you going to travel? Are you going to put them in certain schools, be homeschooled? Like what?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely have talked about those things. For us, we also know we're going to have to take it as it comes, some of this stuff too. We also don't leave everything up to, this is 110% the way that it will be, and we're only going to do it this way. We know we change as people. We look back at the past 2 years. We look at 2 years before that, 2 years before that. We were at a different stage every single time, and we feel the same thing is going to happen when it comes to having a family and raising our daughter. So yes, we would love to do homeschooling. We would love a perfect world. I'll draw it out for you. Is going to be us having enough passive income coming in, or cash flow coming in through our businesses, to where we can travel. We can live almost that Cardone lifestyle, right? Where we're going to Florida, we're going to the places that we want to go and show our family and let our family experience those things, while being able to homeschool and educate our daughter in that way. We want her to be familiar with the world, and not just in one school that, you know, you get your small breaks and that's that. We absolutely have a big dream and a big goal for that. We also want to raise her to be thinking outside of the box. We want her to be a problem solver. We want her to look at situations and let her fail in those situations versus trying to help her through them. Even now, as an 8-month-old, I'll let her cry for a little bit until it becomes hysterical, and I know that it's not nice, right? But if she falls over and she can't get back up because she's 8 months old, she can't stand, I'm going to let her try to figure it out herself until she gets way too frustrated to where I know we're past the point of her figuring it out. I'm going to let her try to figure it out before I go to pick her up. Same thing with feeding. Anytime we're trying to feed her, I'm going to let her try to do those things first. I want her to be the one that's initiating. I want her to be able to self-soothe herself. I want her to have the ideas herself, so we're not relying on other people, and she's not relying on other people in the future too.
Man, that's awesome, man. And we've been on the podcast, we've had some guests on who has regretted not spending time with some kids that he had prior, and because now they're grown, and the end product of who they are, he wishes he spent more time in grooming and kind of guiding them. You know, and so it sounds like you have a game plan in place as to how you want your child to be raised, which I think is absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of people don't do that. They have kids and they just have kids.
They do.
It just kind of happens.
You know, I think all of this relates back to also, because this is also true about business. Is it does relate back to a lot of those intangibles that you learn within business, right? If I'm going through a sales conversation, I don't like using scripts. I don't think anybody should use scripts, but I think you should have a guide on where you're trying to go. Where are you trying to take this person in the conversation from start to finish? How do I know where it's going? If I use a script, I have to stick to just that one way of doing it.
Yeah.
If I have a guide, I'm able to pivot. I can go back, but I at least am staying on the trail.
Yeah.
Right? We're staying the course, and we're getting to where we need to go. I view it the same way as a parent. I view it the same way as a husband. I want to be able to guide my family in the right direction, but I want them to be able to make those decisions too.
Yeah.
Right? There's times where in business too, with partners and things like that, where I know it's a poor decision that we're going to make. I know the direction they want to go is a poor decision, but they feel so strongly about it.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm willing to experience that pain, so that way you can learn from this.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
versus me trying to strong arm the situation. I'm willing to let you experience this pain and have to be there for it too.
Yeah.
And be there for you through it. So that way you have the opportunity to learn. And I view it the same way with my family when it comes to life, when it comes to anything.
And there goes leadership again, right?
Oh,
That's you gotta go through it sometimes, because that's the only way they learn.
Yes, you can bring things up, but what's the old saying? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it.
You just can't.
That's the reality of it all too, right? I want my family to beat to their own drum.
Man, that's awesome, man. Where did you get this philosophy of thinking from?
You know, I've always beat to my own drum to a certain extent, and I think that stems from my parents being divorced, and they had a very nasty relationship. So as a young kid, I was forced to grow up a little bit sooner than most others, just in the sense that I was consistently a mediator, and I saw where the communication consistently went wrong with them. They never had successful relationships after that divorce as well. They dated, they got remarried, re-divorced, right? So things had happened. But I got to experience all of that, and I soaked it in, and I listened as I was growing up. And what do I not want to have in my life? How do I not want to act? How does that make me feel? And how can I make sure I don't make other people feel that way? That comes with some downfalls. I have some people pleaser tendencies in me where maybe I'm a little bit too soft on people, right? So there's some downfalls that come with that. But ultimately, I think it stems from way back when, and I've carried that through, and I've learned through reading leadership books, through trying to do leadership myself within organizations and sales and communication, everything. I've learned how to hone in what works best for me and my style of being. So that way I can present the best version of myself to my family and those that I'm doing business with.
Man, it's what you're explaining is so important, and I think it's so good, because one of the common themes that I see consistently with men that I talk to is they lack that sense of leadership. They absolutely lack that sense of leadership. And it sounds like you've done a bit of work internally to really hone in on that skill of leadership, because a lot of men do come to you and ask you, hey, how did you and Angel get on the same page?
Yes.
What's your response to that?
Oh man, I mean, without having to get too deep with people when they just ask me that off the cusp, right? I'm like, well, I can go real deep if you want to get into it.
let's go deep real quick.
Let's go deep on it. For me, it's making sure that they're always a part of the plan. I want Angel to feel like she is just as much a part of my dreams as real as they are to me as well. And I want to make sure that I'm a part of her dreams the way that they are real to her, right? And where do our dreams come together? Because there is a point where our dreams do come together, right? Yeah. If I sit down, most couples could probably do this. If I sat down with my wife and said, hey, would you like to be rich? Well, yeah, I'd love to be rich. Would you love to live in your dream home? Oh, I'd love to live in my dream home. Well, I guarantee you there's common factors that come together for every single relationship. And just a matter of what does that look like? We spent one night when we were 22, I think we were 22, 23 years old, and we actually made lists. And we used to do this every single day. We would make a list of what our dream lives looked like, and we compared them. And what it ended up turning into was not, oh, wait, yours is way too ridiculous, yours is way too small. No, it was, wait, we're not thinking big enough. Wait, you put a helicopter on yours. I didn't put a helicopter on mine. Yeah. I want a helicopter too, actually, now that you said, I didn't know we could dream that big. Yeah, I want a helicopter. And we started putting our dreams and our aspirations together, and then starting to ask the question, well, now how do we do that? If we both want this and we both feel we can have it, well, how do we do it then? Other people are doing it. 90% of millionaires in the entire world were self-made millionaires. So how do we become one of those self-made millionaires?
You know, one thing I see commonly with guys is like their woman would write something down or have a dream, have a goal, and they would say, why do you want to do that? That's dumb. That's stupid.
Oh, man.
do y'all have you ever kind of talked down at a goal that
No.
Angel had?
Never. I think everybody we're coming from a place of perspective that we have, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Angel came from the perspective originally. She was born and raised in Russia, and very, very poverty stricken. There was, they were eating bread and potatoes, and that was it. There wasn't much that they could have there. So she came from a different reference point than I came from, right? And I'm sure we come from different reference points too. So for me to look down upon what her goals are, or her dreams are, or what her aspirations are, when she might not have the reference point, what if I show her a different reference point, right? What if I bring her into the vision? What if I bring her into the goal that I'm thinking about versus saying this is just what we're going to do?
Yeah.
Right? No, we're just going to buy real estate. I have a lot of friends, men, that are like, well, my wife doesn't want me to buy these real estate deals. She won't let me invest in real estate. Well, why not? Right? Angel said no to me the first time that I said I wanted to start investing in real estate. And then I had her read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Then we read Brandon Turner's books next. Then we read the next book next. And every time she would read a book, while she's reading it, we'd go for a walk every single night. And we would talk about the things that she's learning and making sure that she comprehended what she was.
But there you go again, being a leader.
Oh.
And it's not a bad thing.
it's our duty, though. I feel in our families, man. I really truly feel that.
And I hope the men that's listening right now, like you see this pattern, because when she didn't have the information, the skills, the whatever, you gave the resources. You didn't get pissed off and be mad and emotional and all that type of stuff. You're like, okay, how could we bridge the gap?
Yeah.
In knowledge to get to where I believe as a family we should get to.
Yeah.
And not just go. You also didn't say you jumped into real estate without her.
Never.
Trying to show her out or show her, like, I see so many guys do it.
Say the same thing, man. Oh, I'm gonna buy this. I'm not gonna tell my wife. We only have $100,000, but I'm gonna put 75 on this, and it cash flows $600. Do you truly know how that works? Why wouldn't you guys make that decision together?
It's so crazy.
But man, I think that it stems even further back from that, because I think that is a product of the fact that we worked on our relationship first, and I think a lot of people don't work on the relationship first, and we came from a place of, I could live in a cardboard box with you. I screw the money. Yeah. Screw that legacy. Screw all this. No matter what, you're my person. Yeah. And I am dedicated to you, and I'm devoted to you. And we love each other. Yeah. So it does not matter what else we're going to do in life, because ultimately I have you. And that's what means the most to me. If I feel that way, and if we have that connection and that kind of trust in our relationship, everything else is going to follow. Yeah. I truly believe that. And it makes it so much easier to have these open conversations and guide her.
So much, bro. So in wrapping up, man, let's talk about intimacy.
Yeah.
Right? How has business affected intimacy? Because now we're busy, we're kind of just doing everything. Yeah. What does that look like?
That is something that we are actively trying to work on, actually, and it's something that we, to this day, are having consistent conversations on, because it is one of the first things anytime we get incredibly busy is where the intimacy begins to leave. Yeah. And that comes from a physical place in most cases. Yeah. Intimately, mindset, mentally, we're there for each other. Yeah. We go for a walk every night. We talk about how each other feels. We make sure that we're taking care of each other. I cook her dinner every single night. That's just what we do.
I gotta grow on that. I could definitely grow there. Man. Though we could edit that part out. My wife shouldn't hear that.
But that's how we operate. So when it comes to intimacy, that is the first thing that will drop off anytime we start going too far at something. So we have to have that moment of recognizing, hey, I'm noticing you're just feeling a little bit more distant. Do you mind? Can we just let's make sure that we're staying together on this. Let's make sure we're cuddling or holding hands or doing the things, going through the motions at least, because we know we love each other. It's an unspoken thing. We don't even have to say it anymore, but it's so unspoken sometimes that we get so in our own silos working on our businesses that we go, hold on, let's back this up. Yeah, we need a date night for just you and me.
Do you guys have like consistent date nights and stuff?
We try to. Having the baby also changed some of that. Threw a little bit of a wrench in there, but we're trying to make sure that we do that. And her and I, we're at an event right now, and we love being at these events together.
Yeah.
Right. And it's something that ties us together a little bit closer too.
Bro, you mentioned going through the motions.
Yeah.
Right? Why is that important to you to at least even go through the motions?
Because you're at least you're still doing it daily. You have to be consistent. You work out. I can see you. You look great, man.
Thanks.
You can't tell me that every time you go to the gym, you got the perfect pump and that you felt great, that you're like, man, I just don't want to stop. And you have those days in the gym where you're like, man, yeah, I could do 5 more sets of pull downs. You know what I mean? Like this, I'm feeling good. I'm dialed in. And then you have those other days and sometimes months.
Yeah.
I've had months. I used to be really into working out. I'd go months, sometimes 2-3 months where I'd go, I'm just showing up to show up. I'm not getting a great workout. My mindset isn't fully there. I'm thinking about other things, but you know what? I'm showing up. Yeah. And then eventually, because I kept showing up, that last day of that 3rd month, all of a sudden, boom, man, I'm feeling really good. You know, my shoulders feel really capped today. You know, I think I want to focus a little bit more on my arms. You start to get redialed in on that again. Yeah. But you never stopped. Because if you stopped and you just walked away from it, you lose it.
100%, bro. Man, thanks for sharing your wisdom, your leadership, because guys, there's so much here that when you understand how to lead your woman, like things change dramatically. And you've shared so many nuggets that I think guys should listen to this over and over and over. And it wasn't even, you weren't even trying. It's who you are.
I appreciate that.
Which is what I like about you. It's who you are, and it's things that come natural to you. Obviously, you went through a few things to kind of start learning and getting these things done. But this is the message that I want for my guys that's listening to really start adapting, because I really want us men to be better leaders in our homes, so that we could really start changing the world, because the trickle down effect to our kids and all that type of stuff is so dramatic. When you lead your home the right way.
They're watching.
They're watching at all times. Absolutely. They're watching, man. Bro, thanks so much.
Hey, thank you so much for having me
Thanks for being on the Man Cave. Guys, this was awesome. Tune in to the next episode on the TMCT podcast. Peace.